Hi, and welcome to Coach Jude at Rangitoto. Reflecting on the episode I did last week on letting go of an unhelpful habit, I realised that the process is quite complicated, particularly if a habit is well and truly embedded in your life. Often in the past, my approach has been, I make the decision to quit X or give up Y, then I would dive straight in and take action. Typically, it wouldn't take very long for things to go pear-shaped. I would fall flat on my face, curse and swear, blame myself for being hopeless, and then give up altogether. Wouldn't you like a better approach? One that was much more likely to bring you success? Stay tuned for my 6-step plan to help you let go of any unhelpful habit that may be getting in the way of you attaining or maintaining a healthy weight. So what's the process of letting go of an unhelpful habit? Well, there are various phases that you need to go through in sequence before you can successfully move to the next phase. In this episode, I'm just going to give a brief overview of each phase, and then I'll go into more detail for phase 2 only. I'll cover the other phases in detail in the next few episodes. And remember, if you want more general help with your weight loss journey, check out my free comprehensive guide to kickstarting your weight loss. I've put the link in the description. Today we're focusing on letting go of unhelpful habits. So let's go through each of the phases briefly. Before we get started though, here's one tip. Only try to tackle one habit at a time. And for the first one you try, maybe choose the one you're least wedded to, but is still having a negative impact on you. Essentially make things as easy as possible for yourself. Or of course, you might choose to tackle one you know is really making a big negative impact, so you get more noticeable results. But just be aware that this might be a tougher process. Phase 1 then, the ostrich phase as I call it. Basically, here you're thinking, I haven't got a problem, and even if I have, I ain't going to do anything about it. Now, I don't intend to cover this at all in this series, because if you're here watching this episode, you're already well past this. Although sadly, it is possible to revert back to this phase. So I will return at some stage. The main outcome from this phase is that you recognise that you have an unhelpful habit. Phase 2, considering letting go of your habit. At the start of this phase, you're likely to be ambivalent about wanting to let go of your habit. Part of you will and part of you won't. To move forward, you want to get both these parts working in harmony rather than constantly pulling you apart. This means that you get to the point where you think you gain more by letting go of your habit than by hanging on to it. Phase 3, preparing to take action. In this phase, the key behaviour is planning and preparing, and I think this is a stage that we often try to skip. We've all been in that place where we say, that's it, I'm starting a new eating plan tomorrow, but we have no idea of what that looks like. We've only got junk food in the house, and by the end of the evening, we've thrown in the towel. Phase 4, making the change. Okay, this is where you actually start doing things differently. At the beginning, this may feel strange and uncomfortable. It will take conscious effort, energy, willpower, and courage. But don't let this deter you, because this phase doesn't last. Phase 5, maintenance. This is where it generally starts to feel comfortable. You've let go of your habit, and for the most part it takes very little effort or control. You may have the odd slip up or the odd thought like, it would be nice to have, but essentially you've got this. Phase 6, my favourite, it's so over, baby. This is when you not only don't indulge in your unhelpful habit, but you have absolutely no desire to do so. This is such a sweet spot and the place I've got to with my drinking. From my own experience, putting the effort into phase 2 is key to making it all the way to phase 6. Right, now we've gone through the phases, let's go back to that critical phase 2 and look at it in more detail. Before I get started, the approach I'm going to take is to go through the activities in each phase, then use a worked example to really help you get the idea of what's required. The unhelpful habit that I'm currently trying to let go of is snacking in the evening, so I'll use this as an example. Phase 2, you remember, is considering letting go of your habit. Now, the key activity in this phase is spending time thinking and reflecting. In this phase, there are a number of things to get really clear in your mind. So a general tip is to write things down as you work through the phases. So starting by writing down your responses to the following questions to help you get real clarity. Question 1, write down the habit you want to address. Question 2, what problems or issue is this habit causing you? Short term or long term? Question 3, what are the benefits you believe you gain by maintaining this habit? If you didn't think your habit had any benefits, you wouldn't stick with it. So this question forces you to acknowledge what you like about the habit. Once this is out in the open, then you can look at how to get that benefit via an alternate route or even replace it with a better benefit. Question 4. Imagine what your life would be like if you no longer had this habit. Now, you don't need to write War and Peace here, you just need a few key phrases that capture the place you want to get to. Question 5. Do you identify with your habit? Often we adopt a habit as an identity. For example, I have a sweet tooth, I'm a big eater, I have no off switch, I'm an alcoholic. The problem with this type of thinking is that we can assume it can't be changed, that it's fixed, part of us, and we can do nothing about it. This is rarely true. While you may have a preference for sweet food, or you may have an unhealthy relationship with alcohol, like I did, your habits do not define you. They are just habits. Question 6. What benefits will you gain by letting go of this habit? Okay, let's move on now and go through my worked example so you can get a really good idea of how to do this. Question 1. My unhelpful habit is snacking after my dinner. Question 2. The top 3 issues this causes me are: I eat food that I don't need, which means that maintaining my weight is harder. My sleep is impaired because my body's trying to digest food instead of resting. I'm increasing my risk of developing insulin resistance, as in general people's insulin response is worse later in the day. This means that my blood glucose spikes higher than it would if I'd eaten the same thing at lunchtime. The benefits I get are the pleasure of eating the food, a distraction from boredom, possibly some FOMO, fear of missing out, as my husband always has an evening snack. Question 4. The place I want to get to is where I never have to think about an evening snack. It doesn't matter what others are doing, there's literally no desire to indulge, and I get to feel smug because I'm looking after my most valuable asset, myself. Question 5. Do I identify with this habit? Do I see myself as an evening snacker in the same way as I see myself as a runner? This is a definite no. Question 6. The benefits I get are essentially the opposite of the issues in question 2. Maintaining my weight will become easier, I'll sleep better, I'm less likely to develop insulin resistance. But all this could lead me to having not only a longer life, but a better quality of life. And that's always worth fighting for. Now, once you've looked over these questions, you may benefit from doing further work in two main areas, particularly if on balance, hanging on to the habit seems to provide more benefits than letting go of the habit. Because remember, the only way you'll ever let go of a habit is if you want the alternative more. To help tip the balance, consider the following. Research the harms that your habit is exposing you to, so you are fully aware of the consequences your habit may be creating. Think about whether the benefits that you think you are getting are actually true. How much benefit do you really get? How could you test this or prove or quantify it? I'll cover how to do this more in phase 3 in the next episode, but it is worth starting to think about whether what you believe about your habit is actually true. For example, the realisation that I got more pleasure from running than drinking was what set me off on the path to permanent change. The habit of drinking wasn't as important as I had thought. Now, all this work in phase 2 may take you some time. That's fine. Remember, the goal at the end of this phase is that you can clearly see that letting go of your habit has more benefits than hanging on to it. So you want to do it because it's more important to you. And when the going gets tough, this is what you need to remember. Creating a mantra to repeat to yourself is a really good idea. For example, using my unhelpful habit, my mantra could be maintaining my weight, getting a good night's sleep and controlling my blood glucose levels are far more important to me than having an evening snack. One last thought. Don't worry that at this stage you may have no clue how to make the changes. This will be addressed in the next phases, which I'll cover over the next few episodes. The important thing is not to let these concerns stop you from moving forward. Whenever we're starting out doing something differently, we rarely have a clear picture of exactly how to do it. That's fine, because all we need at this stage is to take the next step, which is to move into the preparation phase. And remember, letting go of an unhelpful habit is complicated. The effort you put into it, really understanding exactly why this habit has worked for you in the past, why you hang on to it and get real clarity on what harm it's doing, then the easier you'll find it to let go of it forever. And that, people, is true freedom. One last thing I would like to stress is that to be successful in letting go of a habit doesn't take any particular superpower. You don't have to be a special type of person. The only skill you really need is to recognise that when something isn't working, it isn't you. You are not faulty or incapable. There's just a flaw in your action plan that needs fixing. And if you keep trying and learning from your mistakes, you will get there. And remember, if you need more ideas beyond kicking habits, maybe because you're just starting out on your weight loss journey, or perhaps you've stalled, check out the link in the description to my free comprehensive guide to kickstarting your weight loss. And on that thought, I'll leave you. As always, I thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget to like this episode if you found it useful, subscribe if you want to learn more, and do share your progress and triumphs and your insights with me. All the best. Until next time. Bye.